I'm Plami, and in this episode of Plami's Thoughts On, I'm going to be sharing my thoughts on the first 3 episodes of the recently released new animation cartoon series Invincible. For those of you who don't know, Invincible is a comic book by the well-known writer and creator of The Walking Dead, Robert Kirkman. That is pretty much the reason why I decided to check out the series, because it was Robert Kirkman and because it also was supposed to be a very violent and gory series while still being a cartoon, and essentially an action cartoon. And honestly, I'm glad that I did that, because it's honestly pretty good. Like, there's so much to talk about when it comes to these first 3 episodes, and I honestly don't know where to start, so I think we're just gonna start and break it down episode by episode and how I feel about each one of them. And episode 4 has already been released, so I probably will be watching episode 4 after I'm done with this video, so you can expect a review of that episode very soon. And I actually thought about reacting to this show, but the main reason why I don't react to like live action stuff is not only because they tend to be claimed much more than my cartoon reactions, but also because this show actually has extended episodes. It's like 40 minutes, like your typical live action show length, even though it's a cartoon. And with YouTube, you can only have like maybe 10 minutes of content from the episode to be in the video, and I feel like recording a video for 40 minutes just to get 10 minutes of content, it's not really worth it that much, especially because it's gonna be also a pain in the ass to really pick and choose the things you want to keep in the reaction. And it's much easier to do that when it's like 20 minute long episode than it is for like a 40-minute long episode. But yeah, let's start off with what I like about the first episode. Like a lot of other people have said, the first episode is pretty slow for most of it. It doesn't really shock you until it comes to the end of the episode. And by the way, if you have not seen this show, definitely go and check it out. At least the first episode. Check out the first episode. I know it's like 40 minutes long, but check it out. Trust me, you will love it. If you don't, then that's fine, but I'm telling you, by the end of this episode, you're gonna be hooked on this show. So yeah, for most of this episode, it's fairly mundane, just typical superhero stuff with getting the knockoff Justice League, save people, and then having the main character gain its superpowers. And first off, let's talk about the knockoff Justice League. It was kind of weird seeing them, because I thought this series, Invincible, even as a comic book, was more of like its own thing. Like, it was a unique take on the superhero genre. Like Marvel or DC, it's like a different universe compared to those. But seeing these Justice League knockoffs kind of made it feel like this is just I don't know how to describe it. It made it feel like The Boys, which is a good show, but I feel like it makes it feel too much like a parody or a knockoff. It doesn't make it feel like its own thing, and that bothered me. Even though it was fun seeing these Justice League characters, knockoff characters, which by the way were voiced by Walking Dead actors, which is so fucking hilarious and makes a certain scene close to the end of the episode that much better. But it was really cool to see, to hear the Walking Dead actors voice these characters, even though I actually didn't realize that at first. I only realized that after people commented about it on Reddit in the discussion threads. And yeah, it's really fun. It was really fun to hear all the actors in this show. And for those of you who don't know which specific ones were, it was Lauren Cohan, aka Maggie, Michael Cudlitz, aka Abraham, Ross Marquand, aka Aaron, Soneca Martin Green, aka Sasha, Lenny James, aka Morgan, and I think that was it for the knockoff Justice League, who are called Guardians of the Globe. Like, not only a knockoff Justice League when it comes to the members, but a knockoff Marvel due to its name. And also, for those of you who don't know, the main character of this series is actually voiced by Steven Yeun, aka Glenn from The Walking Dead. So that was even better. I mean, I'm gonna spoil at this point the ending of the episode, but I wish the Guardians of the Globe survived for a few more episodes, because it was cool to see the Walking Dead actors voice these characters. I don't know. It was really cool. It made me like them that much more, because I felt like I had history with them, even though I obviously didn't. But because I love these actors from The Walking Dead, it just made me like these characters more. And honestly, some of them are pretty blatant rip-offs of the Justice League. Like, at least the fish guy is a fish guy and not just a human who is half mutant or half Atlantean or whatever he was. And at least in the case of that Martian man or whatever his name is, I thought it was more of a rip-off of Plastic Man, not really of Martian Manhunter, but I guess that's the case. But the other ones, like Darkwing, he was very obviously Batman. Who else? War Woman, obviously Wonder Woman. She even looked like the costume that Wonder Woman had in one of those DC animated movies. I think it was like Flashpoint. I think it was that's what it was called. She looks exactly like Wonder Woman from that one. But yeah, there's not much to talk about honestly in the first episode, because as I said, it's very mundane and I was kind of bored a little bit, because it was taking its time really with stuff. Like, we literally opened the episode with two completely fucking random characters talking to each other, and I didn't really pay attention during that scene because I was kind of bored. But in general, I like the vibe of the episode, because I'm a huge fan of action cartoons, and I wish action cartoons would actually get an actual comeback and become the norm again, because we got so many good series out of the action cartoon craze in the 2000s. Like, especially so many that didn't really were never allowed to finish their stories, like the Green Lantern animated series, or Symbionic Titan, or the Thundercats, the 2011 series. These are all good series that were well regarded by fans, but all of them were cancelled after their first season, and it's a shame, because they were so good. Like, I really like those series, and I might react to them at some point, because I haven't watched them in like half a decade, if not more than that. But yeah, in general, I was okay-ish towards the episode, but it wasn't really until the end scene that I was completely sold onto it. And what a scene it is! So, I mean, I don't even really know how to begin. The Guardians of the Globe are one by one called to their base of operations and get attacked by the father of the main character, Omni-Man, who is a superhero kind of like Superman, but so far we haven't really seen him have a laser vision, so I guess he doesn't. And he, for unexplained reason, attacks the Guardians of the Globe and fucking wrecks them one by one. And it's so fucking gory. It's insanely gory. I haven't seen that much gore in a cartoon ever. It starts off with Omni-Man flying in and trying to punch I mean, I don't know the name of that character, but he's played by Ross Marquand, and he's supposed to be a Vandal Savage knockoff, I think. And in that whole scene, the Flash knockoff character called Red Rush is the one who pretty much saves everybody for a little while, because he's the only one who can actually stand up to Omni-Man in terms of speed. He's able to move everybody out of harm's way. But then Omni-Man catches him, grabs his head, and fucking squishes it. And holy shit, that's so gory. And my first thought when I saw that scene was like, I mean, it was actually afterwards, after reading that a lot of these characters were played by actors from The Walking Dead. I was like, wow, this is what the Negan kill should have been, you know? I mean, it was already pretty brutal, but it felt like that, because even in the case of this character whose head got crushed, his eye popped out. Like, this really makes me want to see a Walking Dead animated series that follows closer to the comic book. I think that would be really cool, and I think if Robert Kirkman can do that, he should. It would be so fucking good. Like, I know we've already pretty much seen the story of it, or adaptation of it, or whatever, but I would love to see an animation series of that, because if this series, Invincible, can get away with so much gore, The Walking Dead should be able to be fine, because this is so much gorier than The Walking Dead. And I'm talking about the live action show. This is so much gorier than that. So I hope this series gets more seasons, honestly, because it's so good so far. Yeah, he crushes Red Rush's head in a very brutal way. I'm not sure in what order he kills everybody, but he then grabs Darkwing and smashes his head on the floor twice, and his brain fucking spews out. He grabs, I think, War Woman's weapon, which is like a mace or something, and kills the fish guy with it, fucking exploding his head as well. Then I think he kills the character played by Soneca Martin Green, aka Sasha, from The Walking Dead, who is supposed to be a Green Lantern knockoff, but at least it was a little bit more original, because it wasn't just a person with a ring. So it was cool to see it be a little bit more original. Then he grabs War Woman and breaks her neck, spins it around the opposite side with her face facing the back, and she even coughs blood on her back, and that's so fucking freaky. And then he just stabs with his arm the last survivor, who is the guy who is the ripoff of Vandal Savage. He asks why Omni-Man did that, only for Omni-Man to just smash him with his hand and behead him. And that was fucking brutal. Like, that whole sequence, it doesn't have any music, it doesn't have anything to tell you how to feel, it's just brutality from beginning to end, and it's so damn good. And honestly, the fact that these characters were all very much ripoffs of Justice League characters kind of plays to this scene's strengths, because most of us have grown to with these characters. We love these characters, so to see them be essentially, so to see those characters essentially be killed in these brutal ways, I don't know, it just really freaking hits you. Like, it was great. And honestly, the show isn't the same afterwards, because as I said, in the first major part of the episode, it's fairly typical action cartoon, maybe slightly edgier with blood here and there. I'm not sure whether we actually do get to see blood that much, but there is a teeny tiny little bit of it. But after that, it doesn't hold back. Like, the next episode literally has a grandma fucking torn to pieces and an invasion of aliens which completely kills people to shreds. It rips them to shreds, and it's fucking amazing. But yeah, this first episode, I think it still plays to its strengths. Like, the fact that it's slow for the most half, only to have a shocking ending, I think it's really good, and it's par for the course when it comes to Robert Kirkman's writing. He loves doing this kind of stuff. So I'm not too bothered that the first, major part of the first episode was like this, but when it comes to rewatchability of the episode, I feel like it's gonna be very forgettable. I mean, not necessarily forgettable, but very boring for most of it. And most people won't really rewatch this episode outside of that ending scene because there's not much to watch in most of this episode. But the ending is definitely damn fucking worth it. So yeah, in terms of the rating, I think I'm gonna give this one a solid 9 out of 10. Pretty much only for the shocking ending that it has, because it's not really great for most of it. Pretty much only for the shocking deaths at the end, because it's not really great for most of it. I don't hate it, and as I said, I kind of liked it because it was reminiscent of action cartoons that I used to watch before, but it didn't really grab me until that ending scene, so yeah. But yeah, in the next episode, it's probably my favorite, I think, maybe. I mean, I haven't really thought about it, but I feel like it's probably my favorite. Yeah, I would say it's probably my favorite episode out of the three. We get introduced to a bunch of new heroes, which our main character Invincible meets when an invasion of aliens happens out of nowhere. And I gotta say, that female character, who is I think she's called Adam Eve, she's literally Gwen fucking Tennyson. I'm sorry, like, her hair is the same, her eye color is the same, her super fucking powers are the same. I wouldn't be surprised if it's the same voice actress. I mean, I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised by it considering how similar she is. And that robot guy is literally fucking... what was the name? It's from Dawn Patrol. I don't know the name of that character, but he's literally from Dawn Patrol. Rexplode and the girl that can clone herself are a little bit more original, and I gotta say, out of the cast that we've seen so far, I would say voice actor wise, I think the voice actor for Rexplode is probably the best, because the other ones, outside of maybe J.K. Simmons, haven't really caught me. Like Steven Yeun, he's not a bad actor, but I don't really think he has the chops to do a voice acting role, because I don't know, I feel like just his voice doesn't really have the charisma or the oomph to really elevate the character that he's playing. And I get that he's playing like a newbie superhero teenage character, but and it fits for the character's look, but I don't know, I'm just not really entertained by his voice acting, you know? And it also doesn't help the fact that Amazon's fucking videos, for some reason, the dialogue is super quiet while the action is super loud, so that annoys me even more, because I can't have the audio too high, because then it's gonna fucking destroy my ears whenever it comes to action scenes, so then I can barely hear what's being what is talked about in the episodes. As I said, J.K. Simmons I think is pretty great, but for me my favorite voice actor of the bunch is Rexplode, and I don't know if he's my favorite character or anything. I haven't really thought about a favorite character really, but he's definitely one of the most entertaining ones for sure. And yeah, this episode is pretty entertaining. I like the action that we see, although there are a few shots where I feel like there could have been more. In general, I feel like they could have done more with the action, because there are some still shots, and for most of it I feel like the animation or the art style or whatever you want to call it is just mostly okay. There's only a couple moments, mainly the most important ones in the episodes, that are actually really well animated. Like for example in this episode when Omni-Man goes on a fucking rampage to that alien place, it's fucking gorgeous. But for most of the episode, it's kind of garbage, especially when it comes to the freaking aliens, which are CGI'd, and they very much stand out from the rest of the background and everything. And yeah, there's quite a lot of brutality in this episode as well. When Invincible goes to see what's happening when the invasion first happens, people just get completely destroyed. And I kind of like the realism of this show, where it's still like very much an action cartoon, but it's actually treating it with maturity and realism, where what would realistically be a consequence when you're fighting bad guys is actually taken into account. Because like in action cartoons, people don't really get hurt, while in this one people fucking die, and I love that the show acknowledges that. But this episode kind of shows me a problem with this series, where I kind of appreciate that this show has like long extended episodes of 40 minutes, like as if it's a live action show. I kind of feel like it would have benefited if it had a bigger amount of episodes, but they were like your typical 20-30 minute long. Because in this episode we have the aliens invade like 3 fucking times, and it just feels, I don't know, weirdly paced. Because they defeat them once, do some stuff, they're back. They defeat them second time, do some stuff, they're back. And I get that it makes sense with the story of the episode and what these alien characters are about. It fits, but it also kind of doesn't, because it creates a weird pace where we just have the same thing happen like 3 times in the same episode. If it was a few episodes spaced out from each other, I think it would have worked better. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe they decided, because they were given a smaller episode count, to just jam pack as much content as they can in each episode. I don't know. But yeah, so basically this is the episode that we formed the Teen Titans, or in this case the Teen Team, who in the next episode ended up becoming the new Guardians of the Globe, even though I don't really understand how they've deserved that, because they don't really seem that good superheroes. I mean, maybe Adam Eve, but Rexplode is a fucking douchebag and doesn't really do much. The cloning girl, I think she's fine, but again, we haven't really seen much of her. And Robot, he might be the most interesting character of the bunch. Not the most entertaining one, but definitely the most interesting one, and I'm curious where they're gonna go with him, especially with what happens at the end of episode 3. But yeah, so far, I mean, I don't know. I kind of like this show, but I feel like I'm not completely invested into it. And one of the reasons why I'm not is that even though there's a lot of aspects of this series that I like, I feel like it's playing too much into the parody idea of itself, where it's a parody of action cartoons and not an action cartoon on its own. I'm like, while I can enjoy and appreciate parodies of stuff, I much prefer when things are played straight. I would have much preferred a serious and graphic and gory superhero series that take itself and its premise seriously and does it to its fullest potential, rather than a half serious, half parody, shock value kind of cartoon. I still like it, but it just makes me want the things that I want about it that much more. I don't know, that's the best way I can put it. Although I gotta say one thing, the brutality in which the Guardians of the Globe got killed in the previous episode definitely makes you feel the stakes, because I kind of quickly got invested into all these characters, where by episode 3, I mean even in this episode, but especially in episode 3, I'm actually kind of worried constantly that these characters are gonna die. I feel like just that whole scene with Omni-Man killing the Guardians of the Globe in such a brutal way makes me worried about all these characters which are already kind of likable. that they're going to die. It makes me scared that they're going to die because I like them. So I guess I am already kind of invested in this show. But I definitely feel like the show is maybe trying to do a little too much with everything because it has so many characters and so many plots. When I would have much preferred or would have been fine with focusing on like the teen team, like the characters of Invincible, Adam Eve, Robot, Rexplode, and I think she's called Trinity, but I don't remember for sure, like the cloning girl. I would have much preferred if this show focused on them. I feel like the best comparison I can do with this show is to compare it to Young Justice. Because it's obviously kind of similar, just a little gorier. I mean, much gorier to be honest. And in similar vein to Young Justice, although not as bad, it's trying to do too much with too many characters. And again, it's not as bad as Young Justice Season 3, but it's still not as good as I feel like this show could be, you know? But maybe after a while, after I rewatched it, I feel better about it, but so far, I feel like it's a little bit all over the place, and I haven't really found my... I don't know how to put it. I haven't really found my headspace. I don't know. I haven't really settled into how I feel about the show exactly and what I don't like and what I like about it. I feel like maybe I would need a few more episodes, and maybe at the end of the season we'll do a retrospective about how I feel about it. But so far I'm definitely liking it. The biggest reason why I do like it though is because it gives me this vibe of an action cartoon that has been just matured up, like those action cartoons that we all watched as kids like 10 years ago, like TMNT 2003, Ben 10, Generator X. It feels exactly like those. It gives me the exact same vibe. Being excited to see where the story is gonna go going forward. It's just that this show feels much more mature and feels like it's the same kind of show but for adults, and I love that. This is what adult-aimed animated show in the West should be like. Not the retarded crap that shows like Family Guy, The Simpsons, BoJack Horseman, Rick and Morty, or any other retarded show for men, children, and edgy 13-year-olds are regarded as adult shows. This is what adult shows should be. Action cartoons that are just adulted up, for lack of a better term. Because we have such a huge variety. For example, in anime, there's anime for everybody. In comparison, in the West with cartoons, there isn't any, especially in the last few years. It's all fucking either retarded animations for retarded adults and edgy 13-year-olds, or just the random cartoons like Teen Titans Go. There's no in between. There's no action cartoons at all. There used to be so many. So yeah, oh, I almost forgot episode 3. Episode 3 was also pretty cool. It's basically the episode in which we start forming the new Guardians of the Globe, and we have a few additional superhero characters that get shown up. There's a guy who has lost his superpowers, so he's just now a powerless dude who still is a superhero. And by the way, he's played by the one and only Kari Payton. God damn it, the guy can't catch a break when it comes to voice acting for superheroes, can he? I mean, it's funny. He plays like 5 characters on Young Justice Season 3, and now he plays another superhero character here. I'm curious where they're gonna go with that character. There's another character who is a superhero. I think she has the power to miniaturize or something like that. I don't really remember, didn't pay too much attention. But then there is an actually really interesting character with Monster Girl, who is a girl who can turn into a Hulk-like monster. But the trick for her character is that every time she turns into that monster, she gets younger. She even used to call herself a Monster Woman, but she, after using it so much, has regressed to a young teenage girl. And honestly, that's kind of an interesting idea. I really wish this show would actually delve into the character of Monster Girl, because that's such a cool concept. You get superhero powers, but you get younger. It's like a superhero movie combined with the weird case of Benjamin Button. Like, why is this not a movie already? Come on, this would be so fucking cool. Like, this concept is just so cool to me, and the character would be so interesting to deal with. And whenever she ends up dying or regressing to a baby or whatever, it would be so tragic. Although, when you think about it, unless it's genuinely the case as the case of Benjamin Button, wouldn't she just fucking grow up again? It would just require for her to not use her powers. I mean, I don't know how those powers necessarily work, but that's logically what should happen. If yes, she regresses, but it's not like her metabolism or aging stops. Like, I mean, again, I don't know how it works, but I feel like maybe it's a little bit too focused on the bad side, or intentionally focused and made into a bad thing. When you think about it logically, it shouldn't necessarily be as bad as they're making it out to be. But yeah, it is pretty cool to see all these additional characters, and there's a really cool interaction between her and Rexplode. And I gotta say, it's so weird to hear characters swear in an action cartoon, because again, even in the first episode, like, it's really freaking tame, and it's intentionally tame. And after that brutal scene in the first episode, the show completely changes tone, becoming so much more gorier and action heavy and sweary. And like, there's this interaction between Rexplode and Monster Girl, where he makes fun of her for being a little kid, and then she makes fun of him for having a little dick. And considering this show has the tone of an action cartoon, it's kind of wild to hear them swear like this. I don't know. I love it though. I really do. And now that I think about it, this show especially feels very reminiscent of the Ultimate Spider-Man, but again, obviously much more gorier and more mature. But this episode especially felt reminiscent of the Ultimate Spider-Man, because early on in that show, because I actually really enjoyed watching that show back when I was watching TV like 6 years ago, because I haven't really watched TV since 2017. That's when I cut the cord, basically. And it felt reminiscent of those early days of that show, when there was a team of superheroes and they worked together. And I actually think that show is overhated, but whatever, that's not what this video is about. So yeah, at the end of the episode, we get back to the two villains that we saw in the first episode attack. I think it was the American government, which is funny considering what happened in January. But we see these villains who are also captured during the first episode get released and escape from prison. And then at the end of the episode, it's shown that Robot released them. I don't understand what this means and where that's gonna lead to, but I gotta say, this show is good with building up intrigue. I'm still curious why Omni-Man did what he did. And I actually almost forgot to talk about that scene from episode 2, when he destroys the alien's planet. Not only was it a beautiful scene, and it was the best scene we've had so far for sure, But I love his line that he says, Earth is not yours to conquer, implying that he's the one who wants to conquer it. But again, I still don't know why. I'm assuming that it's gonna be revealed, and by the way, don't spoil it for me. Thank you very much. But I hope it's a good reason, and it's more interesting than generic I'm bad guy, I'm superior, my race is superior than everybody else's, so they should bow to me. I hope it's something more interesting than that, but I don't know. I guess we're gonna find out eventually. But yeah, it's a really brutal and really beautiful scene. I really like that scene. So yeah, this is pretty much where we are right now. We supposedly have the team together, but not really. There's also this demonic character who is investigating what happened with the Guardians of the Globe, and I'm worried that Omni-Man is gonna kill him, because as I said, after the first episode, this show has really built up an ominous feel to it, where you're genuinely worried for the characters, just because those deaths felt so real and so impactful. Like, I'm worried about the characters dying genuinely. Like, I've never felt like this before in an action cartoon, because ultimately I know that they're probably gonna be fine one way or another, but in this one, once you're dead, you're dead. So I really wish Robert Kirkman would do an adaptation of his comic book in animation form, and it being very close to the comic book, much closer than the TV show. Because they should also have more freedom when it comes to it, because they wouldn't have to care about the cast having to be on the show for like 10 years or whatever. But yeah, I said the first episode is a 9 out of 10. I think the second one, for me, it's a 9.8 out of 10. The only problem I have with it is, as I said, the pacing of it is a little it feels a little rushed, because like the invasion happens like 3 times in the episode, and I feel like if it was spaced out in a few different episodes, it would have been better. But it's definitely my favorite one, with all the introduction, all the new characters and everything. It was a great episode. For episode 3, I mean, what else happened in the episode? We had also that villain, Dr. Seismic or whatever, which was kind of funny, because he's apparently a very woke person, but he's also like a fascist or whatever, so it was kind of funny. I really like that. There was that funny line where he tries to show how woke he is by talking to Adam Eve and saying how her costume is sexualizing her. I think that's what it was implied to be. And then she said that she's the one who designed it and that she likes wearing it, kind of calling out his wokeness, you know. So I saw some people complain about it, the show being woke, but I guess he didn't even really understand that that was kind of making fun of that, not playing it straight. So I don't know. If you're dumb, I guess. So yeah, I don't know. I definitely did not enjoy episode 3 as much as I did episode 2, but I still enjoyed all these episodes. I'm just a little confused about how I feel about the show overall, because there's definitely a lot of aspects about it that I like, and I like the general vibe and the nostalgia that I feel when watching it, as if I'm watching a mature version of all the cartoons that I watched as a kid. But yeah, I don't know, there's just something off about it. It feels a little bit like a mess, because as I said, some things are played straight, some things are kind of parody-like, so it creates a confusing tone, I feel, but overall I enjoyed it. So episode 1, 9 out of 10, episode 2, 9.8 out of 10, and I guess episode 3, I'm gonna give it a 9.1 out of 10, because I feel like it was definitely better than the first one, because we still got a lot of really funny and cool moments with all the characters, like that one moment where Adam Eve found out her boyfriend Rexplode having a threesome or a foursome with the cloning girl, so that was kind of funny. But yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty excited to check out episode 4, but it's probably still gonna be very much in this vein. So if you like this kind of stuff, I think you're gonna be fine going forward with this show. But for me, I'm kind of on the fence about it. Like, I like it, but I also wish it was taking itself a little bit more seriously, you know? But yeah, it's definitely a show I would recommend to people, for sure. No matter who you are, I think you at least need to see the first episode. By that point, you're going to decide whether you like it or not. And if you don't, you don't. If you like it, you're gonna love everything that comes afterwards. But yeah, I think that's pretty much everything I have to say for this show. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like and subscribe. Also check out this description to my Twitter if you want to follow me there, and to my Wattpad where I post my stories, because in addition to doing all these videos on my channel, I'm also a writer. And if you don't enjoy my stories, or you simply enjoy my videos, you can head over to Patreon where you can pledge support and help get the channel going, help support me so I can keep writing the stories you enjoy. But if you don't want to do it, that's completely fine. You can still help me out in other ways, like liking this video, subscribing, and especially sharing this video with somebody who you think might enjoy it. And I think it's pretty much it for this video, so hopefully I'm gonna see you in the next one. Bye!